Hooked On Fishing was brought to you by Matamata Sports World. For all your friendly advice and service, see us first. Hi, Chris Bungard helping you plan your weekends fishing. Well, a bit of rain around, there's a bit of damage around the place too. Gosh, if you're heading at some of the little local streams and rivers around the place, watch out. You've got fairly high water, you've got a fair bit of colour in the water, and there's quite a bit of tree and shrub damage and that sort of thing. So some of these little areas around the district that you normally go and have a little look at could have changed over the last 48 hours or so. I know certainly around the Omahini and the Waiumu, certainly a lot of broken branches, willows damaged and all that sort of thing. So just be a wee bit careful if you're looking around. But what this bit of rain and extra water will do will help with the fishing over the weekend and early next week. A little bit of colour, a little bit of extra flow, and that'll certainly help. Some of these streams coming out of the Kaimais, they're going to be a wee bit flooded, but as they settle down, watch out for some nice fishing, particularly at the entrance of some of those streams. Had some really good reports from the top end of Lake Arapuni the other day. Some guys went in, one of them was an Australian tourist actually, and he came in the shop for a bit of information, said, look, have a look up there. He had a little kayak and went up, and he was sort of worried about whether a kayak would be okay, and I explained to him, if you've got a kayak, have a go at some of these lakes around the Waikato district, the Arapuni, Karapiro. The motion of paddling that kayak actually gets the lure moving like that, and you get some very nice hookups. So you got some beautiful fish up there. The biggest one was just over 7 pound. He was up the top end of Arapuni, what they call the sticks, where it starts to narrow, and paddling back down. Black and gold tobies he was using, so yeah, maybe over the weekend or in the holidays you can give that a go. In the Rotorua region, talking to Glenn Skinner down there, he's very pleased with this warmer temperature, the warm rain. That's helped create that thermocline level on Lake Rotowedi, and he's getting some nice jigging happening out there at the moment. Also, for those who want to drag yourself out of bed fairly early, the early morning harling's still producing some quite nice fish. But believe it or not, you've got all those big trophy lakes in Rotorua. Still, the pick of them seems to be good old Lake Rotorua itself. Gee, he said there's some beautiful browns in there at the moment, particularly down the Nongata end of the lake and around the western side of the island. So if you're down in the Rotorua region, don't go past good old Lake Rotorua. To be fair, you might like to say that Rotowedi and Tararua and that are more picturesque and probably a more enjoyable lake to fish, but as far as fish numbers go, Rotorua takes some beating. In the Taupo region, the rivers down there have had quite a bit of rain, as you can imagine. They've been up to fairly high levels. Tongariro is running fairly high over the last 48 hours. Starting to drop down now, and next week should make for some good fishing on those rivers. And that sort of extra flow creates a little bit of a run into some of those rivers of fresh fish, and that will make for some good fishing. There'll be a few spent ones around as well. Take a little pair of long-nosed pliers with you as well to perhaps let those fish go. In the upper reaches too of some of those streams, particularly the Waitanui, there's been some nice fish taken on the dry fly, those smaller imitative patterns. In the evening at the moment with the the warmer weather, these flies and insects are starting to hatch, and match the hatch if you like. Get those little dry flies out, and on a light rod like a 5-weight or a 6-weight, it can be a lot of sport. To the sea fishing. Great news for the West Coast fishers this weekend. These winds, okay, they've been strong and all that sort of thing, but they've knocked the swell down out on the West Coast. Should fish right over the weekend and early into next week. You should have good fishing. Head out to around about that 50 to 53 metre mark from Raglan and Carfair, although Dwayne is telling me he's getting some nice fish as well in as close as 37 metres. To be fair, this time of the year when they're spawning, they're all over the place, but spend a bit of time with your good sounder, have a bit of a look around, but generally, I'd go out and start around that 50-53 metre mark and then work your way back in perhaps if you don't have any success. But give it about an hour or so in each spot. In the Coromandel region, getting better every day. The water temperature is getting up now around that 18.3 degrees. The fish are starting to spawn, so they will have quiet patches, but when they come on the bite again, watch out for some good fishing up there. The incoming tide still seems to be the best. You got high tide at the moment around about 6 o'clock in the morning, so you can fish that turn of the tide and then you'll be doing the outgoing. But my advice would be to get some jobs done in the morning, get yourself sorted, get up there around about midday, fish the turn of the tide at low tide, and they're quite big tides at the moment too. New moon next week, so just watch out for those bigger tide flows out in the middle of the Firth there. And then the incoming tide, the afternoon bite, I think should be the best. You got high tide, as I said, around about 6 o'clock in the evening. So, as I said, get up there around about midday. Over the hill into the Mercury Bay region, the fishing's been a wee bit patchy. Out on the sand between Apeto Bay and Great Mercury, John Elwood tells me he's a charter skipper of the Y up there. They've been catching some nice fish on the soft baits through there. And in the evening at the change of light, he's getting into that Peachgrove Bay, Tea Tree Bay along that area there. Mochitty and Mere, it's been a wee bit tough to be fair. The fishing hasn't been easy. It's actually probably been better in on the sand around about that 20 to 30 metre mark along off Papamoa and after Matakana Bank. But there's been some big swells running out there at the moment. Watch out for the fishing to improve when those swells drop, and it should be quite good next week as the tide drops. But just the swell drops. But just remember those big tides at the moment. There'll be quite a lot of tide run. Now, if you'd like a new reel for the end of the year for the month of December, give us a call. Kilwell, of course, have come to the party again with a wonderful reel from them on 0508 647462. That number again, 0508 647462. Merry Christmas to you all. This has been Chris Bungard helping you plan your weekend's fishing. Hooked on Fishing was brought to you by Matamata Sports World. For all your friendly advice and service, see us first.